And my name's Pieters. So
Hey, welcome to Find Your Groove. It's Find Your Groove Friday. Isn't that great? Fridays are great because I always have a great conversation, and that's exactly what we're going to have today. So welcome to Find Your Groove. And, personality. Do you really know who you are? Does personality really affect your achievements, your successful relationships, your career? We're going to talk about all of that. And we're going to talk about this really great assessment that you can take for your personality and find out, who are you? I took it and I found out I'm the explorer. So my guest, Joanna Pieters, has some great resources and great tools for you. So we're going to get into chatting because I can't wait. Hey, Joanna, welcome.
Oh, Lynn, hi. Thanks very much for having me on. It's great to be here.
We were just talking before the show, and I think it's so awesome that, it's morning for me, but yet you're going to be going out for dinner after this. I am.
It's 6 o'clock in the evening here in the UK.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just find little things like that so amazing. So I'm so grateful that you're taking the time out to come and join us, because this is a topic that is super fascinating to me. I have always been intrigued by human behavior, why we do the things we do, how that relates to the decisions that we make, and, just how we walk through this life. And so obviously it's very interesting to you as well, because this is your work. And for those of you listening, Joanna's website is joannapieters.com, and Pieters is spelled Pieters. So how did you get into this work?
This came about through me just looking at people and saying, how do we get things done? So if I go right back a bit, I started out my career as a journalist, as a magazine editor. But my first big break was when my boss left very suddenly, really due to stress, and I was offered his job, which is kind of a bit of a poison chalice. A really interesting job, but notoriously overwhelming. And I took it, and I made the decision that no job was worth sacrificing health or family or other things or big things for. And I just became really interested in how we get things done, how the difference between people who get things done and thrive and the people who don't get things done and get overwhelmed by it. So I went on through my career. I started out managing a very small team with kind of 3 people, went on to managing big teams. So I stayed in publishing. I stayed in magazines, did an MBA at one point, but had a lot of opportunity to observe, let's say, a whole group of different
definitely would have the opportunity to observe.
Thrive. Loads of opportunity, and also doing the similar job and seeing what are their differences. They're so different, and yet, are there any commonalities? And that was something that really only came to the fore to me after I set up my own business. I trained as a coach, and I started becoming really interested in kind of brain behavior. Because in the end, there's no such thing as personality. We can just say it's the way our brain is wired to like to work in certain ways. So a really common way of looking at it is introvert, extrovert. Those of us who are extrovert get energy in our brain from going out, being surrounded by other people. And those of us who are introvert may enjoy doing that, but it takes a lot more energy to do it.
But we can be both too, right?
We can be both. And we all, so in a way, why there's no such thing as personality, because it's, we're all able to do all these things. But some things are more natural and more easy for us. We can all make conversation, but for some people, conversation's far more natural than for others.
Yes.
We can all do blue sky thinking, but some people love doing it. I can do blue sky thinking for all day. Whereas for other people, it's quite an exhausting thing. So for me, what personality is and what vitally productive my assessment was a way of trying to help people say, well, okay, let's find some patterns and see what it means. If I can talk about this for hours. If we start with, the reason it's so important, a couple of great bits of research that I love, and this is just about brain energy. So the first one is, if you're on a diet, you are more likely to have an affair.
What? Really?
Apparently, this is what the piece of research that suggests this. And this is not to do with feeling more attractive, whatever. It's to do with you're using up your willpower on resisting chocolate or wine, or whatever it is, to basically disrupting what you really want to be eating. And you're literally using your brain energy for that. And you don't notice that you really should be resisting the person in the corner making eyes at you, whatever.
Yeah.
The idea of willpower is really crucial in this. The other bit of research which I love on this, group of students have to walk down a corridor and with a number and give a number to the researcher at the other end. And half of them have a really simple number and the other ones have a really long number. In the middle of the corridor is a table and it's got refreshments on it. And there's fruit and there's chocolate cake. And the ones with the simple number go for the fruit. And the ones who have to remember the long number go for the chocolate cake.
Oh, I totally understand that. I see why that would be. Because when we stress out and struggle, we go for the bad food. We go for the comfort food.
Well, we do. And I think there are a couple of reasons. One is that we're using up our brain, our willpower on using that memory. So we don't have the energy to resist, to take the decision we really want to. It's like, I want to eat healthily. And two, our brains actually use up glucose at a huge rate, so it wants energy. But for me, what those two things say is that our brains are very, very finite in where they put their attention, and if we put it on one thing, then something else will suffer. And that means that we just have to be really conscious about putting it into the things that are genuinely important to us.
Yes.
If we're continually fighting our brains to do something that is actually a lot of effort for it, there's going to be a flip side. There's going to be a trade-off. So therefore, understanding what the things are that are most natural to you is really, really important.
Yeah, holy yes, for sure. But what about, a lot of times we're fighting our brains, that little voice, that little gremlin that, we fight that. Does that, I guess if we get caught up in that, that's really putting focus and energy where it doesn't benefit us.
Yeah, I think they're kind of getting caught up in it. Absolutely. The little voice thing can be quite tricky. I'm sure you see this all the time. It can be, your intuition can be really, really valuable, but it can also be resistance, just trying to keep you safe something. So I think isn't the key, learning how to discriminate. Is this just me being scared of a situation? Or is this really saying I'm going in the wrong direction? What? Yeah.
One of the ways I think is, go ahead.
I think where personality assessments are useful is to help provide you with that kind of with different insight. So the reason I came up with Vitally Productive is that there's a whole industry of time management and productivity out there. There's so you walk into any bookshop and there's dozens and dozens of books.
Yes, and I don't like them.
Why didn't you like them?
I don't think they're because, like you were saying about personality, and I do know that we can easily lose ourselves in things that excite us and light our brain up. And some tactics will work for some people, and some of them won't work for someone else. And that's why I think understanding your personality and how you function is really the first step before you start using any of these. Because if you don't know who you are, not all instruction manuals are going to work for you.
Then you've just summed up why I created Vitally Productive. I saw it as a bit like diets. Everything works for somebody, depending on your physiology and your makeup, but you don't know which it is without trial and error. So what I wanted to do was, is there a way which we can cut through to say, well, forget those approaches because they are never going to work for you, whereas these ones will be far more relevant. So it was and I think all personality tests, they're not prescriptive. They're about providing some insights that allow you to take a shortcut.
Yes.
So it's about knowing what are the things that are most natural to you so you can maximize them. When does that tip over into being unhelpful? So I can strategize, do blue sky all day, but actually I need to be aware of that tendency. Otherwise it can land me in a lot of trouble. But equally, I need to know that that's where I can really, really add value in my life and my business and things. So I think that awareness is really crucial in deciding how you're going to structure your life, your business, how you organize things, where you add that kind of unique value.
Yeah, absolutely. So I took the test and found out I'm the explorer, which I wasn't surprised about because I've done different tests and things before. But there's always some interesting things, and this test is really, really good. And the information that you have for whatever your personality is it's fabulous. It's in depth. So I always learn something new, and you provide really good information as far as, okay, so I've given you the information, here it is. But you definitely take it so that to the point where then people, this may work, and here's some things to try. So I loved it. You're so thorough in it, and it was a great test to take.
Oh,
how
well,
did you
thank
put it together?
A lot
to
of
come up with the
brain effort.
questions and
yeah, I mean, it was really. I suppose as I said, it came through observation and just an awful lot of kind of going, what are the differences, and trying to, a lot of brain cudgeling, a lot of just sitting around with Post-it notes and and thinking. And at times it really felt I was just, untangling knitting in my brain about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there are three main parameters in it that seem to create sort of differences. So it was about sort of placing people on those parameters, and of course we're all in the middle, but what's our real, if we had to do only one which energizes us more, combining those and then going, I'm really pleased you find it practical, because I've absolutely wanted it to be useful, not just kind of, oh, isn't that nice about me, but actually, so what does that mean? How can I use that information today? What kind of habits should I put in place? Who should I be hiring? Who should I be working with? What does it mean? Because otherwise, you don't have to go and work all that out for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you explain it very well.
Oh, well, thank you. And it's great. I mean, I put it, it went through various versions of testing it with friends, saying, is there anything here? What? And then having identified that it worked for people, sort of working with them and testing out ideas with them, saying, does this work for you? Is that right? So friends and clients, and it's continually evolving. I love getting feedback from people who've done it, saying, most of it's right, that one bit doesn't resonate, and I can go away and think, is that just them, or is that a general? Have I got something just slightly wrong with that type? So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to run through the different parameters of it if that's an interesting thing. I don't want necessarily to get in loads of theory here, but
so I don't know what I did with. I don't know what I did with it. I had made some notes though about it, but how many different types do you have?
There are 8 different types.
8,
so there are 3. I'll tell you really briefly what the sort of the dimensions of it are. So we tend to have preferences. These are the preferences that I observe looking at people. And the first one is about a thinking versus doing, and it's kind of strategy versus implementation, whatever. And again, of course, we all have to be able to do everything. But particularly under stress, we'll tend to take refuge in either thinking or doing. We'll tend to be either hands-on or kind of reading about things. And, strategists and thinkers, there's no rights or wrongs or in any of this. It's just different preferences. Yes. So, I'm an explorer too. And it does tend to mean that we tend to like sort of thinking about things and reflecting on things and perhaps bringing together arguments and discussions and getting new information. Whereas more than perhaps actually putting things into practice. So I loved actually managing a team because a team would implement and I could do and facilitate thinking. So the next dimension is around we call variety versus expertise. So some people are very motivated by new ideas, by new experiences. They new people. Things completely unrelated to what they're doing can be really inspiring for them, very motivating. They'll want to try just something they've never done before. Whereas other people tend to really like to be an expertise. They really want to go deep they'll get inspiration for their field from other people doing it. So if they're an artist, they'll want to look at other artists rather than perhaps music or drama or landscape. So it's a depth versus breadth dimension there. And the third one is about the way we relate to other people. And I call it autonomy versus collaboration. And it's a little bit more to explain, but this one's really, really powerful. So autonomous thinkers tend to listen to their own voice and give it quite a lot of credibility. So that's really, really useful when you're going through tough situations, for getting things doing, setting a direction for yourself and following it. The downside is when that voice is telling you unhelpful things.
Yeah.
Because you won't necessarily, if somebody else says to you, no, it's great, you don't actually believe them. So if you're very autonomous in your thinking, which you will be as an explorer, it means you're great at setting that direction, but you do have to be cautious that you're getting enough support and the right support around you, and that you're not allowing your internal messages to derail you. On the collaborative side, it means that people tend to be very, very motivated by making other people happy. And people pleasing gets this really, really bad press. It's like, somebody's very wrong to be a people pleaser. And this often comes up, people going, well, but surely I shouldn't be on this side. And I think that actually it's a fantastic place to be, because it means you can be great at customer service, at really being of service to your clients. It's wonderful to want to make people happy. The danger is when it tips over into sacrificing yourself for that. So people on that collaborative side need to be very careful that the people around them are not exploiting them, and that very discriminating about who they listen to, because they will take people's views quite seriously. So they need to be very careful that they're getting the right opinions put into them. So that's the third one, that kind of autonomy versus collaboration. And autonomous thinkers, again, they can be very extrovert. They can love collaboration, but it's more about sort of satisfying their own needs in a way, rather than getting the real kick from making somebody else happy. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So those are the three dimensions.
I see a lot of people who, so would this fall into the collaborative? I see a lot of people online, small business owners, entrepreneurs, that ask the opinion of other people for pretty much everything. And even the smallest thing, they can't really make a move. They're sort of trapped because they not sure what to do, and they need everybody else's opinion and input. But then they're still stuck because there's such differing opinions. It's almost like they're right back to the square one again. And so is that the collaborative? That's the downside of the collaborative?
I would say that they're more likely to be collaborative in nature. So that is the downside. And that's great if they're within a group of people who perhaps are their target customer. But yeah, absolutely. The downside is that, needing to get validation, needing to get other people to like something. Yeah. That is, I would say that is the downside. It can be a very positive thing if they are asking in a group of their own clients. I was listening to a podcast earlier, a fantastic business owner who makes a point of sharing their book covers, their ebook covers, titles, get fantastic feedback from their group. But she's been very discriminating about who she's sharing it with, in which case her tribe already, who understand and who can provide valuable inputs. So it comes back to that being really, really conscious of, are these people the right people to listen to?
Yeah.
And
Well, I think it's great to get feedback. I mean, we all want to get feedback, especially if we're in business. We want to put it out there. We want to see how people resonate with things, and it's super valuable. It's where I see people get stuck. And I love that you said, it's not good or bad. I think all of it is just, it is what it is. And it's to really understand and not get caught up in the things that the strong tendencies that we have. So like the collaborative people that want to get feedback, but it's oh my God, I got all these different answers. Now I have to rethink that. And oh my God, what should I do? Because that one person said this about it. And I think that's where the downside of it is. Then you get caught up in it, or, the different things like Explorer and, there can be, I think there's pros and cons to all of it, but the thing to focus on is the value of it. When you understand who you are and why you function that way, God, it makes life so much easier. You can make decisions so much better. And that really helps people to understand, why is that person, they're so lucky, or that works for them. And whenever they do something, it just seems to work, and I try it. And so then people end up feeling crappier about themselves. And really, you just need to know your personality, people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's only an insight. So yeah, absolutely. And this collaboration thing, I've seen that as one of the most powerful insights, because once people can go, the reason that it's so important to me to get feedback is that my brain is wired, I want to delight people. So it then I think understanding that means you can go, okay, the reason that's a problem is I've gone out to the wrong group. Mm-hmm. I'm going to find I'm going to stop listening to my mother, for instance.
Yeah.
So yeah. Exactly. I mean, the thing is, about all these personality tests, none of it's all kind of self-declared. No matter what you're talking about, whether it's Myers-Briggs or something like this, it's all declaring our own preferences. There's no brain scan that says you light up in this bit of your brain. So it's all about just evaluating and just providing a tool to help us understand why we respond in the way we do.
Absolutely. Now we do evolve, though. I think back to when, I was a young child, when I was a teenager, my early 20s, getting into my 30s. I mean, some things do change and are different about us. So how does the personality test relate to that as we evolve as humans? Or are these things that are just core about us?
I certainly wouldn't be able to make any assessment on this. This isn't something that I've run over 10 years for people to sort of do it 10 years on. In the end, I think we can own whatever we want to. And I think the real danger with these is if we do a test at one point, we decide that it's prescriptive, that it tells us how we have to behave, and it backs us into a corner which may not be right. We may... we discover new things about ourselves. We discover new things motivate us. I think it's really important that we don't define ourselves through it, but we see it as something that's useful, and we don't allow other people to define ourselves through it. And that's the problem with these in recruitment. They should never be more than a kind of a tool, something helpful, not prescriptive. So I think, if at one point in your life, some people have seen you in a certain way, you've seen you in a certain way, if it's not serving you, then move on. If somebody does this test at one point and then a year later says to me, I think actually I'm more over here, then that's great.
Yeah.
We all exist at different times, and I think there will be different times of our lives when other things come to the fore more strongly than others.
Yes, I think so. What are the things that form, to give a little bit more insight to listeners, is what for them also to understand is what forms our personality?
I don't think I'm qualified to answer that, in that this, for me, my interest in this has come through observation and testing and finding, and my own reading and interest in particularly sort of neuroscience, the way we work and willpower, I don't have a sort of developmental psychology background. What forms it? Gosh, I mean, I think the reality is I don't think we really know.
It's very interesting.
I would say I have a 5-year-old. I would say that he was born with personality that seems to be developing and actually staying stable as he gets older. Will that be the same when he's grown up? I don't know. And in a way, I don't want to label too early, because I think we should all retain the right to be fluid.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. It's so fascinating, though. It's so fascinating. So I share your fascination and passion around it, because from the time I can remember 12, it's been something very interesting to me, and I've noticed over the years as I've grown how I've changed. And, for example, when I was younger, I hated to throw anything out, and I did not like change. Now, you almost have to stop me from throwing things out because I just want to get rid of things, and I crave change. So that's really changed. But in taking this test, I can also see how I am still the explorer from that time, even though I've changed. So it's such a fascinating topic. It's so amazing to me, this whole topic.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think causes personality?
I think that there is a basic core to us, and then, our environment and things like that, and results and our experiences form it, because it's very interesting, and I'm not, equipped either to completely understand what that is. I know I work more like you with the results of it, but I don't know exactly, because, we'll hear often parents say, well, I treated all my kids the same, but they all took it in differently, and it affected their personalities different. So I am actually a big believer in understanding also, as a parent, understand the different personalities of your children, because they won't all grasp it the same, and it will affect them differently. So I do believe that results and our environment affect it, but ultimately, I think you got to go down to, it's right down to your soul.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I'm with you. I think I would say there is something that's very deep, and the way we express it takes forms that some maybe more natural in some ways than others.
Yeah. So you work with what it is. So we know, these are the certain traits, and but you and I both, we don't know exactly where it comes from and have ideas of where it's formed, but we can take that information and we can run with it. So this is what I do with my clients as well, is work through, this is what we know. And that's why I love your assessment. I think I'll be sending my clients to take your personality assessment. I think the questions are great. And I think this will be a starting point, because I do a lot of things with my clients for them before we even start working together. I want them to answer these questions, and I want them to do this and that, so I can understand where they're coming from and why they do the things that they do, and then to help them understand. So your tool is so valuable in that aspect. Because when you know a little bit better, you can do better.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it comes down to behavior, doesn't it? I mean, you all know this. This is what we work with all the time. In the end, it's how we think about our behaviors, what we actually do, what we make happen. So the faster we can get to the point of saying, hey, this might be effective, let's try this, then the faster we can make those changes that help us. The better we can choose the habits that are worthwhile setting, then we can get on with the interesting stuff.
Absolutely, the fun stuff. Yeah, because you see so many people that, oh, why do I keep doing that? And why, all these things they don't understand. They try, they fail, and they keep repeating the same patterns over and over, not understanding why. And that's why this is so, they end up feeling worse maybe about themselves, or they get in a funk because they don't understand why, and then they don't know where to move forward from that point. So this insight is so valuable. Personality is, it will affect every area of your life, how you make decisions, how you move forward, your careers, the things that light you up, help you find your groove again.
Well, yeah. And I think the things that are easier, because when I started off with the story about the chocolate cake and the numbers, it's where we go back to when we're under stress. It's what does our brain do most naturally and most easily? Because that is going to be our fastest route to having spare energy for other things, having the space to be creative, having the space to be fulfilled, having the space to have fun, because we're not wearing ourselves out.
Yes.
With all these other things. And we do, and I think particularly small business owners we have all these messages that we should be doing everything. And I say to my clients all the time, no, what we're trying to do is we want to eliminate as much as possible. We want to know the stuff that is never going to be fun for you. We want to know the stuff that that isn't easy, that you're not good at, and you're never going to add unique value. Let's get rid of it from your business. Let's outsource it. Let's automate it. It's okay. And then you've actually got the space to add the uniqueness that makes your business, or indeed your home life, just so much more enjoyable. So it's, in a way, it's about saying, we shouldn't be good at everything. We're not set up to be. Nobody is set up to be this kind of all-rounder in all areas. Let's embrace your weirdness.
Yeah. Fly your freak flag.
Fly your freak flag. Yeah. Saying, hey, I think it's much, much harder for people in corporate jobs often. And I think that corporate is dreadful for wanting somebody to be very autonomous in their thinking, stand your ground, do what's right for your group, for your team. Oh, but by the way, listen to your boss and buy into the corporate objectives and the corporate goals and their mindset. And there's this very kind of lot of tensions about the way people are expected to work. And I think those things result in a great deal of stress. But I think particularly if you have cut loose a bit from that, you do have the opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to subscribe to that view of being the perfect all-rounder.
Yeah, I think there's this sort of, society I find has this, this thought stream of you have to struggle, you have to suffer, you got to do it, push through, suck it up. And I think some people are starting to realize, and I know it was for me too, that letting go of a bit of control and knowing you're not going to be good at everything and you're not meant to be, and that's okay. We get so down on ourselves, and that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay. That's kind of totally, that's what makes you human. Yes.
Yeah.
In a way. And again, I think corporate is particularly bad for its reluctance to embrace failure. There's such pressure, there's not scope for that. But yeah.
This is so valuable too, because I look at this in terms of, because I'm with my business, it is mostly, me on the coaching end, but as far as radio, I'm just half of the partnership that owns Bold radio station. So there are other people like my great producer Nesha, who's running the show for us today, and the rest of the team that we have. So, but as far as my coaching hat that I wear when I do that part of my business, it's very valuable to me in terms of how I present myself, my brand, all of those things. So not just understanding who I am, but it's extremely valuable for me in terms of my business. Do you work primarily with business people, or is it just, just regular people who don't have a business?
No, I mean, because my background is business, I tend to work with people who are either working in a fairly senior leadership position or have their own business. Of course, you'll know that, coaching, once you start goes into all sorts of areas.
Yes.
So it's not business coaching, but coaching to be able to run a business and a rich life, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm particularly fascinated by the topic of creativity, what that means. So I'm about to launch my podcast, The Creative Life Show, where I ask people, what does it mean to lead a creative life to you? And I get some really fascinating answers about, leading a kind of connected, rich life, about making decisions that are right in the moment and things. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations first. I think that's great because, of course, I love all this. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna. When are you launching your podcast?
Next few weeks. I'm just gathering together the interviews.
Nice. So you'll have to let me know for sure. Well, I'll see it. I'm sure I'll see the announcement because I have a colleague and a friend who, a coach, and that is her main focus is all on creativity and how it plays such a big role in our lives. And she's just recently published a couple books all around that. So I'm definitely going to have to send her your way to listen. And I am bringing that more into, I think there's a lot of value in that. And I am bringing that more into my life and my work. So I look forward to that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, it's opening up some really fantastic doors. And I think it's something which is really resonating because so many people I feel it very pushed out. So I talk to a lot of people, perhaps they've had originally a kind of creative background of some kind. They've done some kind of arts, humanities degree. They've gone into a career. They've been successful. They start taking on other responsibilities, maybe family, and suddenly they find themselves leading this very functional life, which is just all about, running their team or their business, keeping their family going. It becomes sort of laundry and clients, and they go, oh, what happened to that person who studied history of art or languages and used to go to the theatre and used to read interesting books, and she's gone, she's just vanished. And a lot of what we do is trying to regain some of that kind of that questioning, that inner drive to just look at the world and say, wow, isn't that amazing? How can I be inspired by it? How can I use that in my thinking, in my problem solving, in my inspiration?
Yeah.
It is very valuable. Are you finding it's making a difference to your life by bringing it in?
I do. And it's at first it's difficult because whatever form you're using to access that creative side of you. And I think for some people it does flow more naturally. But once you start tapping into that, then it's like the floodgates are open.
Yes.
And it comes out more. And then you're like, whoa, this is so cool. And it's just, it's fascinating how it works. I love it. So, but I find for me, I do have to take the time to do it. I'm not one of those that it's just so innate that it just flows out of me and into everything I do. Like other things, I have to take the time to say, okay, I'm just going to sit quiet and I'm going to access that part of me to do it. But it does make a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's fine that you have to make time for it because that's the reality of it. But I think once you start doing it, so if I'm working with business owners, and again, they come to me because they're attracted by that kind of approach. Once we start to realize what creativity they have in them, then it starts becoming much more part of their daily lives. It permeates everything, the way they think about things, the way they deal with clients, the choices they make about their marketing channels. They may decide that actually words are actually not the way they express themselves creatively. I'm not going to do Facebook. I'm not going to do blogging. I'm going to move to Instagram because actually what I need is visual creative expression, for instance. Or it simply opens up new client areas, or just the way the conversations they start to have just a different tone about them. So it's just about starting small, putting things in place, Yeah, I have when I come off a coaching call, I go downstairs and I play the piano for 15 minutes. And
Oh,
that's like a little ritual for me because it's a really good way of calming my brain after it's been
nice.
buzzing after a call. But it also means that I play the piano a bit. So I have this, it's sort of built into my life in a way that actually really works for me.
Nice. Nice. I like that. I love that. Well, I'm looking forward to that podcast. It's in my
Too, yes.
because creativity is a huge part of her
series.
life. Yeah, cool. That's so cool. Way to go. I'm always excited for people that started their own show because I love it so much. And this is, this is part of me being creative and having different types of shows. Sometimes it's solo shows. Sometimes I have more than one guest. So this is just a little part of me being creative and how I do this. And then, of course, marketing for the show. So I'm seeing that it does have huge value, absolutely, to me. So.
And I think this kind of thing is a very much an explorer thing to do because it's about you setting a path, but then bringing in other ideas and getting lots of variety.
Yeah.
And you sort of do, but through the kind of thinking and talking.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a number of explorers who've opted for the podcast approach because and radio show approach because it fits really nicely.
Yeah, it works. It works. I tried to be, a regular writer. It didn't work as great. And I do some, but this is where I'm most natural. And I fell into it accidentally. It wasn't like that was, I started 8 years ago and I didn't know anybody with a podcast. You never saw anything about that. And it was just a means to promote my coaching practice. And I never realized here where I would be 8 years later, where I am doing this.
Gosh, I didn't realize you went back quite that far. Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, I started in radio and then I went the podcast route and now I'm back to live radio. So yeah, I love it. And this is where I'm going. I know this is where I'm meant to focus a lot of my time. That's what it is for me. So yeah, creativity is huge. Really understanding who I am. I've done a lot of work, of course, as coaches. We do that. We really want to understand who we are so that we can help our clients do that as well. So I loved your personality assessment. Everybody that's listening, go to Joanna's website at joannapieters.com. It's free. Take the assessment. It only takes about 5 minutes, and you get some real great insight afterwards. And Joanna speaking with video and explaining the different aspects of your personality. So I do encourage everybody who's listening, go do it because you need this insight. It's almost like an instruction manual for us because we're born without one. So we have to figure it out along the way. And this is a great way to do it, whether you have a business or not. So I encourage you to go do it. Any last thoughts, Joanna, before we wrap up?
I love to hear back from people about how things have worked for them. So, if you go and take it, then please, I say on my emails to you, you come back to me, tell me what you thought. I really love to hear that because it's just so helpful for me to understand how people are putting it into practice. Because in the end, it is all about using these things, taking action to make your life the way you want it to be. So you use your energy for the things that really energize and inspire you.
And have fun. Gosh, we need fun.
Yes, we need fun. Yes, absolutely.
And so people, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you very much for having me on. It is great to come on and chat.
Oh, you're so welcome. So when the podcast is out, they'll be able to find it on your website as well?
Yes, it will be on my website as well. It will be, and we link from my website. It will have its own URL, which I will let you know. But yeah, it's always going to be linked from joannapieters.com. That's Pieters is Pieters.
And you have a Facebook page as well, facebook.com. Is it Vitally Productive?
It's Joanna Pieters at Vitally Productive.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm on Twitter at Joanna Pieters. So.
Yeah, they'll be able to search for Joanna Pieters. Well, thank you, Joanna. This was so great to talk to you. And I appreciate you taking the time. Now you're going to run out for dinner, and I'm going to go have breakfast.
That's the way it is, isn't it? Yes, how nice.
That's the way it is. Yeah. Thank you so much.
A great pleasure.
Really appreciate it. So again, everybody go to Joanna's website, take the personality assessment. It doesn't take long. It's, it gives you some great insight, and we can all use some insight. We can all use some insight. So thank you again to my guests. Thank you to my producer, Nesha, my whole team. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Go to take the test. Let Joanna know what you thought of it and what it did for you. And I will catch you here next Friday, as usual, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in the meantime, have a fantastic day, a fabulous weekend. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions at all about any of my guests, how to reach any of them, how to listen to past episodes, because all of these are available on demand again. So if you know someone who could benefit from some insight, reach out. If you have guest ideas, show ideas, any feedback whatsoever, you can reach me at info@lynnburnett.com. Thank you again, everybody. And remember, until next time, you have the power. Bye for now.